Hey guys, your boy Gas, and I'm back. And today I want to give two L's. Today I want to give an L to Kyle Rittenhouse, and also to an L to everybody who defends this man. This is actually my second time recording. It's the first time I talked for a whole 4 minutes and didn't even realize that the audio wasn't recording. So that's fun. Um, Back on the topics that I was talking about the first time I recorded this is there's no there are people justifying what this boy did. If you don't know, Kyle Rittenhouse is a 17-year-old boy who decided to come across state lines with an AR extended mag to the protests in support of Jacob. I'm sorry, Jacob. Jacob Blake, and it he came with a militia to protect property. One, he doesn't know anybody in the city. Two, he's not from that city, so you're protecting property that you don't own, nor do nor do you really have any connection to. You're really just there to cause trouble. Now, he caused a commotion and killed two people, injured one, and there are people defending that simply because one of the people he killed came up to be a registered sex offender. We're not sure if he's a pedophile or just a normal sex offender, but we're not sure what he did, I say. But, because of that, people are now justifying it. Oh, well, it's a sex offender, it doesn't matter. But they're completely dismissing the fact that a 17-year-old came across county lines with the AR, extended mag, to protect property. Now, I want to take this back to our president, because I feel like a lot of these mindsets, even in smaller, younger people, it's coming from the president. And I'm keeping it 100% real. The way the president talks, the way he handles things, is simply how people are starting to think. His base, or the children of his base, are starting to think. With that being said, I don't think he realizes how much of an effect he has on the communities that he influences. These communities are, in a lot of cases, these are white folks. Keep it real, and some ignorant black folks, and that there are some pretty lost people in between that. I want to call them lost because, in reality, in most races throughout this country, he is insulted in one way or another, or decided to sick his dogs on. To keep it real, Asians have been assaulted constantly. Indians and people from the Middle East have been under a lot of scrutiny since he came into office. I mean, they've been under scrutiny for years, but he definitely hasn't made it any better. Especially since he lies and says that he ended war that's not ended. That's another conversation, though. Back to my original point, though. There's no reason for a 17-year-old to be coming across state lines like that. And I feel as though it's due to the numbness that's going on in the world, where I can't tell if it's ignorance or racism at this point, because there's some people who are not racist that just simply think like Trump at this point. And then there's some people who are racist and use his beliefs to further their own personal agendas. And this boy Kyle Rittenhouse is a product of that thinking pattern. I feel like that thinking pattern is a pattern that is shared with a lot of people that support Trump at this point. And it's kind of sickening, because here you go at a protest for a man who was shot 7 times in the back by a police officer. You come across state lines to protect property is what you're worried about. Now, these protests, from what I hear, were largely positive and largely non-violent. There were some violent people, of course, very small amount. There was very small looting, not even enough to make news. And anytime you have a protest, you're going to run into people who take advantage of it, because, when a protest is going on, police officers are very busy, and it's just a good time to commit crimes. I'm sorry, that's a fact. And people are going to try to get where they can get, especially the ones that need. Not saying they're right, but that's just a reality of a situation. Now, the commissioner has taken two stances that I don't agree with. One stance is the stance of, well, these people are breaking the law by being out after hours. Well, one, protest literally is to protest laws. So if I'm staying out after hours, I'm literally protesting either one, that law, or the situation attached to that law. Or I could be protesting another situation, but the right to protest allows me to bypass those situations. That's the point of a right to protest. Protests don't have time frames. Protests don't have timelines. They happen out of situations. Now, you can have an organized protest, but this was not an organized protest. The man was shot in front of us all after a man was just killed recently by having a knee put on his neck. So we're tired. Time frames no longer matter. That's just facts. The second thing that he stands behind that I don't like is citizens having weaponry to assist the police. This is something that he literally said that he supports, and I don't see how you can support this. For one, training. These citizens are not trained to deal with personalities, people, and races that they don't like. If you're a police officer, you're not allowed to not like somebody because of their race or how they look or what they're wearing or how you feel that day towards that person or what they had to say. These things are not allowed when you're a police officer. When you're a police officer, you are essentially supposed to be a protector, a guard. So all your personal feelings are left at home when you leave. And this is a problem with police officers as it stands. They don't know how to do these things. And this is why we have the problems that we have. And until these problems are taken care of, people will not, stand for it. They just won't. They won't stand for it. And unfortunately, as long as people don't stand for it, with the rhetoric that the president has put out, we're going to have people who now decide to protect property as an excuse to terrorize protesters. He even decided to invite the first two people that did this. There were actually for two people who did this back when the first set of riots happened and the first set of protests were going on. They stood out in front with guns to protect their own properties. And when they did this, people, didn't take this kindly. They said it was, pretty racist, considering the people wore feet, dare I say, damn near a couple miles away from the situation. And they still stood on a step far, far away at the safety of their perch, saying that these people were trying to come up the steps, largely black people, to be real with you, simply because they were in a cul-de-sac passing through. And he invited them to one of his rallies to speak about why they did what they did. And that, he doesn't understand, gives justification to someone for the things that they do. That also gives justification to other people to do the same things that those people have done. And that's where this kid, Kyle Rittenhouse, came from. Now, I want to state that the boy Kyle Rittenhouse, after doing what he did, he was able to walk past the police, go home, and go to sleep. He was then able to walk past police, go home, and go to sleep. And keeping it real, that is telling. That is completely telling, because had he been a black man walking past police with an AR, he would have never made it home. And that's a fact. That's not a thought. That's a fact. I don't know any black men walking past police with an AR that would even be able to make it past the front of the car without being shot. Make it within feet of that vehicle. But he did it. He definitely did it. And this reminds me of Dylan Ruth. When Dylan Ruth sat in that church and prayed next to the black people and killed those people, after they arrested him, they then decided to stop at McDonald's or Wendy's to get him some food. Like, that's how... I don't even know if you call that numb, but that's how I don't even know what the words are for that. Maybe in the comment section you can give me some words for that, because I don't know what the words are for that. But it definitely shows a lack of care for a certain type of people or person. Because if this man was to walk into a cul-de-sac and unload rounds on suburban people, I don't think that they will be greeting him with food. If this guy had been walking through a cul-de-sac with an AR and letting off rounds on people, I don't believe that he would have been walking home that night to go to sleep. He made it home, back across state lines, was picked up in a whole nother state a day later after killing two people. That would have never happened anywhere. With that being said, There's so many things wrong with this, and there's people justifying this because the video clip that shows up, it shows him being chased and beat up with a skateboard. That was after I'm hearing that was after he'd already let off some rounds or aimed a gun at someone. So at that point, it was a situation to disarm him. Now in the middle of that, he decided to shoot 2 more people, and that was all caught on camera. And it's terrible, but that's what happened. And after killing these 2 people, immediately after, he was able to walk right by the police and be perfectly fine. He slept in his bed that night. While we all rewinded videos over and over again to the next day. This has to be fixed. So with that being said, I'm going to hand this L to Kyle. I'm handing this L to anybody that supports him or tries to justify what he did. Hold this L for me. I'm out.